Hello. Today, I want to talk about the audience that isn't there. So this morning, I was thinking about how it seems that almost every person has this audience that goes with them everywhere they go. It doesn't matter where you are. I'm not saying this is true for everybody. This is me just whatever. I forgot the fancy word for what I'm doing. I'm making something up. It's conjecture. That's the word. Anyway, I was thinking about it and I was like, I think most of us walk around with an audience that really isn't there. And when we do things in life, we kind of think about that audience. Like it could be our parents, it could be our grandparents, it could be the high school teacher that didn't believe in us. It could be an imaginary person, like perhaps you're looking for a mate or a partner or something like that, and you imagine who that person is or what that person would be like. So then when you take action into the world, you take action as if this invisible audience is watching you. Now, we know that we say that God is watching all of us, and so to some degree, God is also an audience. Actually, I've heard, and I might look this up, about, I think it was a book or something that said the God that wasn't there. I'm not really sure. But when I think about it, sometimes like the ideas that we have of God are in essence a God that also isn't there, that is also acting as this audience that isn't there, that's saying, I'm watching you and I'm judging you according to this, that, and the other thing. And we might be very well making it up because, as I've expressed before, our thoughts about God are not God. And that's not to say that we shouldn't think about God, because of course I'm a minister, so I do believe that we should think about God, but we should also be aware that our thoughts about God are wholly different than God as God's self. Now, what is God? Who is God? I personally don't know. But what I do know is that in my life, I have an experience that is true, and it's independent of my personal thoughts about it. And so I don't have a real need to make it up because when you're in a relationship with a real person, what you find is by engaging with that person, something transformative happens to you and them through the nature of the relationship itself. And so if you're being transformed, that really denotes the presence of a being. So it's the presence or the audience that actually is there. And so sometimes when you're engaging with a real person, husband, wife, family member, whatever, you engage with them and you're transformed by your true engagement with them. Sometimes you're engaging with thoughts about that person, what you think they might say, what you think they might do, or whatever the case may be. And so you're not being transformed. Perhaps you're being changed. Perhaps you're being limited. Perhaps you're being stifled by this imaginary audience. But then again, if the audience is a positive audience, perhaps you're being temporarily enhanced by that. But what I'm trying to convey is that there's a difference between the audience that is there or the presence that is there and then the imaginary audience and imaginary presence that isn't there. That presence that is actually there transforms us for our higher good. The one that isn't there that we make up deteriorates us and our expression of self because it's an illusion. And so I offer today this idea to contemplate that when you're living your daily life and you feel yourself holding yourself back or moving forward or whatever the case may be, ask yourself, are you doing that in relationship to a thought or an idea about an audience or a person who is watching you? And the difference between doing that with someone that is present and someone that is absent is your own personal transformation and the influence of the influence that cannot be limited or confined of the other entity or audience. So if there's a real audience, you'll be transformed by the expression and the nature of the relationship. If it's a false audience that we make up, we'll be deteriorated by the limitations that are cast upon that made up audience. Because when the presence is really there, the presence can do whatever it wants to do. Whereas if it's an absence or an illusory audience, it's static. It can't transform, it can't change, it can't surprise you because it's just limited to the ideas that we are making up. And so, again, if it's people that in our lives that we care what they think and we imagine them to not approve of us or something like that, we're going to be deteriorated. And if it's actual the presence of a person, they can do whatever they want and we respond to it by the very nature of the relationship and are expanded and transformed hitherto, therewith, and therefore. So anyway, I don't know if that makes sense to you. If it doesn't, I'm going to write some stuff at the bottom that may make sense. And if it doesn't make sense at all, you can ignore the post, or you can engage me as a real being, and we can communicate about it and see where it takes us. At any rate, just wanted to offer that up, and hope you get something out of it.